So welcome, guys. As Mikael said, we are 4 presenters of this workshop called Technology Overview for Language Teachers. It's Antonio Giordano from Pixel in Florence, Italy. It's Mikael Formnik from NTNU in Trondheim, Norway. It's Daria Zhukova from the ITMO University in St. Petersburg, Russia. And it's my name is Tor Talmo, and I'm also from Norwegian University of Science and Technology, based in Trondheim in Norway. So this webinar series, I guess some of you attended yesterday also. So just very shortly, it's a part of a webinar series where we're doing 15 workshops. It's a part of the European co-funded project named Digital Competences for Language Teachers. And the idea with this webinar series is that we're going to run it 3 times, and we're going to try to make best practices on how to implement more educational technology in language learning classrooms and online environments throughout at least Europe and maybe the whole world. And we'll see how far it spreads. I guess it depends on how well we do today. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to try to give you an overview session that touches upon many of the workshops that we're doing in the upcoming 1.5 weeks. And we're going to try to show you what kind of technological tools, processes, methods that are being used in language learning, or that is possible to be used in language learning. It's going to be a lot of names. It's going to be a lot of slides. It's going to be a lot of different technologies that we are going to present very briefly. So we would really like to, if you pop in with a question or a comment or ask us to elaborate on something, if there is something that is unclear. And we have also allocated some time in the end so that we hopefully can get a good discussion on how and when to use it. We have also made some pre-activities, which I'm going to start off with commenting. But first of all, what is educational technology? And what is educational technology for language learning? According to Shadev and Shang, which are listed in references at the end of this presentation, you can define technology or educational technology as accomplishing a learning task or instructional goal using technical processes, methods, or knowledge. And in my opinion, this is quite vital when you're talking about educational technology, because even though if we will focus on the tools today, the tools are only one part of it. It's as important how you use it, what kind of process you use it in, and what kind of methodology you apply. And we all know, I guess, that most of us being here are somehow involved in language learning, language teaching, meaning that we all know about computer-assisted language learning, and we all know that we have been talking about it for many, many years already. And you also know, as I do, that within language learning, it has for several years been difficult to implement a lot of educational technology because a lot of the tools, a lot of the artifacts, a lot of the methods out there on the market hasn't been designed entirely for language learning. Often, and a lot of literature points at that within the field of language learning, it has often been a sense that we're only putting electricity to paper when we're making digital learning resources. We want to try and give you an overview of what kind of tools that are available and how we can provide some more variation and some more dynamics into the language learning area also. So that is our aim today. So secondly, we asked you to do a Google form when you or before this session as a pre-activity. And I saw just 5 minutes ago, I saw that we had 15 answers. I'll see if I can go to them. Okay, so here we go. These are the answers that you have provided so far. What we asked you to do was to tick the boxes of the technologies that you used when you were practicing different skills, the 4 basic skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking, within languages. It's difficult to see any. Of course, these are not significant numbers, and we're not going to use them for a lot. It was an activity just to get you involved in what we wanted to talk about, and we were hoping to be able to read something from them at least. And one of the things that we can see so far from the 16 answers now, actually, is that it is quite a good spread. It kind of underlines what we've figured out earlier in this project, that language teachers are interested in using technology, and we are using them in a variety of ways, and we are using them for practicing all the 4 basic skills. Still, it is obvious that some tools and some skills are more closely interrelated or more closely linked than others. Some of them are obvious, like we use videos for practicing listening skills, and we use collaborative writing tools for practicing writing skills, of course. Hopefully, we will be able to show you some more tools that can give you some ideas during the session, so that you can be able to include more tools and practice skills that are not necessarily that closely linked to the tool. We will leave this Google form open and leave it open for at least throughout the day, and then we will publish the results, try to say something about them, and we'll publish them in the classroom, the G Suite classroom, later on this week. I see that, or it's popping in messages on my screen, so I guess that a lot of you have already found it, because we also have another activity that we would like to get you involved in. We have this. We have posted a Padlet, which is a simple response tool where you can write in text. If you follow this link, or write this link, or if you're able to scan the QR code, you will go directly to the Padlet, which we will leave open throughout the whole session. What we would like you to do is just to answer the simple question that is stated in the top left corner, saying that or saying something about why should we actually use educational technology when we're practicing language learning skills. And then I will, throughout the session, I will try and look at the Padlets, and we will get back to it when we get to the discussion part. And we will look at your answers, and we'll use them as a starting point for discussing. So please, I'll leave this slide for just a half a more minute, so that you can get into the Padlet and try and post your questions or comments or ideas on the Padlet. To write on the Padlet, you either click down in the right corner where there is a plus icon, or you double click somewhere in the screen and you will get a text box where you can write as much as you want. Just remember that it's easier for us to go through it afterwards if you don't write a whole short story. So make it short and concise, then it's easier to work with it afterwards, just as we tell our students when we're working with response tools in the classroom. So I think I will move on. I will leave it to Daria to start off with the first couple of tools and first couple of technologies that we're going to look at. And I guess it's up to you, Daria, and you will also explain the way we're going about it.
Okay, thank you. So once again, my name is Daria Zhukova. I work at ITMO University, St. Petersburg, Russia. Today, I will start presenting you the technologies overview. We consider several technologies from the point of how you could develop basic language skills of your students with their help, meaning reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And the first technology I would like to present you is educational games and gamification. And here we actually need to distinguish between them, because educational games are the games that are explicitly designed with educational purposes. They are designed to motivate students, to make them focus, to help them to learn about certain subjects or assist in learning a skill as they play. So basically, these are particular games which are created for dealing or addressing particular task or a goal a teacher has. While gamification is more of a methodology, more of an educational approach to motivate students to learn by using game elements in learning environment, which means that basically you include the game element into your regular teaching in the classroom. The concept of gamification emphasizes the value of fun and competition. So let's have a closer look. Yeah, at the examples. And as you can see here, I have this table with very short and precise description how this technology may help you to develop certain skills in your students. First of all, I would like to say that there are so-called serious games or tailor-made games, which are designed for a particular scenario, for a particular institution, to help to train students deal with particular tasks. They are usually quite costly and not all institutions, or definitely not a particular teacher, could afford making it. However, I would like to mention that on Friday, this Friday, which is a day after tomorrow, my colleague Елизавета Шихова would present a workshop about developing a digital narrative with a tiny bit of programming skills, let's say, which are very easy to handle. And she will show you how to create a unique content for your class and introduce gamification into your routine, teaching routine. Also, there are several tools or approaches to your class, to your daily routine with certain tools like platform for debate creation, which apart from developing writing and reading skills of your students could enhance students' critical thinking and argumentation skills. And I present here a Kialo as a good example and free tool for creation a debate for a particular group of students. Also, games with strong digital storytelling component would be of use here. And if we are talking about gamification elements in your teaching class, all kind of quizzes like Kahoot or Mentimeter, which additionally engages students into the process, would be of use. Online videos and audios are quite traditional tool for a teacher, for a language teacher. And as we could see in the beginning, the graph that Tord showed us actually showed us that all of us, or at least those 16 people who participated, used this tool for developing the skills listening and speaking of their students. So online video is the digital video content delivered over the internet, fair enough. As an educational tool, it enhances learning by motivating students and helping them to focus on the subject, especially if the subject is not an easy one. And if we are talking about audio, then a podcast would be a great idea, because it also helps to, let me show you, to develop the listening skills. Here I presented several examples, but these are just a few. in the Google Classroom, we have provided you with a whole range of different tools. You could find more there. You can see that online video and audio may be very useful because it enhances ability to understand different accents, possibility to adjust pace of speech. In YouTube, for example, the students, regardless their level, may choose the slower or faster pace of the speech. Additionally, get cultural insight and train their reading and skimming skills. I go further. Social networking, not that traditional technology that language teachers may use. They are services that help learners create profiles and connect with others. And this is why they're so valuable, because basically they help the students to shape their online language identity. They help the students to exchange knowledge and learning practices among each other. Their speaking and listening skills development capacity is somewhat limited. However, many networking systems allow voice communication, yet writing and reading is what we usually would use the social networking for. I go on. Instant messages. Interestingly enough, from what I could see from the pre-workshop activities, not many teachers actually use instant messages for teaching their students. Basically, it is online chat that offers real-time information transmission over the internet. It involves one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-many exchanges of text, audio, and or video messages. It is especially useful because it addresses the problem of limited practicing opportunities, especially in terms of our difficult pandemic situation where students cannot regularly meet with each other, with the teacher, and this could be a way out possible. So again, like social networking, it has some speaking and listening skills development potential, because the tools like WhatsApp, Viber, WeChat that I present here, they have voice and video communication functions. However, writing and reading is more natural to use them for that. So they basically motivate the students to interact through the written discourse and promote a peer tutoring environment. And what is more, it actually helps the students to feel the constant support of the teacher. It might be very useful, and if you haven't used it yet, maybe it's time to try. And last by me, but not the least, electronic dictionary, glossaries, and annotation, which is more traditional way to teach, a tool that is widely used by many of us. Electronic dictionary converts the traditional printed tool into a digital one, and its great strength is that it allows for quick inquiry. While electronic gloss or annotation are notes a learner makes to record thoughts or comment within a document. A great benefit of this tool is that the integrated software allows both individual and group work. So, of course, you could potentially improve the pronunciation skills of your students with the help of such tools as Google Translate, because they provide some speech reproduction for those who use it. However, writing and reading would be in more focus here. And I present several examples below. But also I wanted to draw your attention to the free dictionary as kind of a best practice, because it is not just a dictionary. It is an aggregator. So the students could use it in order to find multiple dictionaries, starting from idioms, and so on and so forth, which could help enrich their vocabulary and, yeah, generally build their language acquisition. Also, I would like to mention the annotation, the software for annotation. It is a very interesting tool because it basically provides the opportunity to interact and learn from each other within the same text. It also fosters in-depth conversation and ideas exchange within the context of one document that a teacher provides, and builds critical reading skills, which is also very valuable. So I think I'm done here. So I would like to pass the floor to Tord again.
First of all, I saw a comment that maybe we should add corpora alongside with dictionaries, which is a good comment, and I do agree. And then that also reminds me that the reason or the technologies that we picked, we found a list of technologies that were essential for language learning in the second reference that is at the end of these slides. A guide, a handbook, manual for language learning, educational technology within language learning, which is linked in the last slide. And we modified the list a little bit. So some modifications we have done, but mainly we have relied on the ones because they are already being reviewed and been written about in articles throughout the last 5 years. So we found it quite solid. That's the basis for why we have chosen the technologies that we have chosen.
Sorry for interruption. I just wanted to say again that we have a whole list of other tools that other than I mentioned here, additionally to them, and I would like to add those that you have here. Thank you for that in that doc, so that everyone could have it.
Thank you, and I agree. You will find a table with all the information that we are presenting in this overview session in the classroom after the session is done. So you can find the information that we're talking about, just in case everything goes a bit fast also. Okay, so one of the tools or one of the softwares, one of the platforms that we use are course management systems, which most of you, at least the ones employed at higher education institutions, will be aware of. A course management system is a platform or educational software where instructors are allowed to create their own courses. And you can have a variety of them, which means that you can include a large number of students, and you can, of course, include multiple instructional materials. It's a learning management system that allows you to practice different types of skills. And if you have some autonomy and not restricted by your institution, you can choose the platforms that best suits your teaching methods. We're having this icon on the first slide, just trying to show why we would recommend you to use this type of tools. And a course management system will, of course, give you the opportunity to, or give the students the opportunity to practice critical reading. And some of the tools, the tools that me, for example, would prefer, they will also allow for a peer reviewing process and provide good and automated feedback on the students' texts. I will show some examples, just like Daria did. Most of the course management systems depend on integrated third-party tools. Some systems do include tools for speaking, writing, listening, or reading directly, and most course management systems allows you to integrate other tools into the system. I would like to draw your attention to the system made by Perusal, which is Eric Masur's baby, more or less, made by Harvard, and it's free for use. You can make your own courses, just ask for or make your license. And Perusal is especially designed for practicing writing and reading skills. And it's a good system, easy, accessible system for both students and instructors to provide peer-reviewed feedback on texts that the students are uploading. There are a lot of functionalities inside, like in every course management system. But as a language teacher, I would recommend you to have a look at Perusal. You can find the link in the table or in the overview table that we publish in the classroom. It's quite simple though, it's perusal.com, so you can find it there. And I also know that there are good materials for how to use it when you access it. So perusal.com will be the best practice within the course management system for language learners, in my opinion. We'll move on because this isn't the most exciting for now. One of the things that most language teachers are using are collaborative writing tools. This is, of course, tools that allows 2 or more people to collaborate or work together on a shared document. And it's a significant component of every online environment in language training. But it's also a more and more common used tool, both in class and also for professional development, both of teachers and within different sectors of the financial world. Collaborative writing will, of course, enhance collaborative skills. This means that it will enable the students to communicate, coordinate, and collaborate together with peers. And it is a possibility to have a common assessment, making it even better to receive the feedback and more accessible to discuss and agree. You of course have the obvious ones, which is Google Docs, which is the one that everybody uses and everybody knows about. You can also have access to Office 365, for example, or you can find other free tools like Etherpad. A collaborative writing environment will allow for students to comment on their own texts, comment on their peers' texts, and they will also enhance the critical reading. Probably a student that works in a collaborative writing environment will be a more critical reader, both of his own text, but also of peers' texts. So if you want to, in my opinion, if you want to enhance critical reading skills, then making them work together on writing texts is a good way to do it. Not as common is automated feedback, at least not in a very systemic way. Automated feedback is an intelligent artificial intelligence system that is based on statistical models designed for predicting human-assigned scoring on different parameters and indicators. This means that the artificial intelligence is trained with different scoring and different feedback given from real-life instructors based on some criteria that is essential for that course that is being taught. It's a tedious work because you need to collect a lot of parameters, a lot of text, a lot of data, but you will be able to provide immediate feedback for the students. This also gives the opportunity for instructors, language teachers, to give a lot of feedback without have to doing it manually, and you can give directed feedback to the students, and they can try it out many times and get the same type of feedback all the time. It will also make the assessment, hopefully in time, a bit more objective based on the indicators that you are providing. Pearson has an automated feedback. What was it called? It's written in the column, which is one of the older, or at least one of the most sustainable, which has a lot of data inside, making it quite accurate and precise. But you can also find it in different tools, like for example Duolingo, the app where you practice your reading and listening and speaking skills. And then you get some type of multiple choice answers that you can collect from, and you will get the automated feedback if it's correct or not, and you will be bumped up or down in levels depending on your scoring. And you can of course find systems for critical peer reading. For example, the calibrated peer review system, CPR, which you can find a link to, where the teacher, the instructor, is aided by artificial intelligence to give the correct feedback, or to give the best feedback possible based on indicators. I'll move on. We don't have too much time, but I would like to spend a bit more time on intelligent tutoring systems, because this is something that is quite new, and that is also becoming more and more efficient in language learning. An ITS is a computer system that aims to provide immediate and customized instructions or feedback to learners. The beautiful thing about ITSs is that it doesn't necessarily require that much intervention from a human teacher. It's not exactly all new either. I would like to show you one of the earliest examples. There has been a lot of intelligent tutoring systems throughout times, but in the 60s, this program, which I have a link to here, was launched late 60s sometime. And the funny thing is that Eliza, she is a net therapist, and when they launched this chatbot, or this intelligent tutoring system, people actually thought they were talking to a real life person, which is kind of scary, because if you attend, or if you go to Eliza to get help with personal issues, I'm not sure if you will get any better. So today I'm not feeling too good, I guess. I'll tell her, how are you today? Not feeling too well. What would you like to, can you elaborate on that? Yes, I can. I feel depressed, for example. Tell me more. Okay, we could go on. I do not like, and this was made in the 60s. Let's see if she knows about COVID-19, for example. I don't like COVID-19 more and more during the pandemic. Okay, so the whole idea about the intelligent tutoring system is that she reacts to specific keywords and specific parameters, specific indicators, making her giving these kind of generic replies that don't give you a lot at all. The link is in the slides, so we can find it later. And if you want to use it in class, I guess that you could get your students to try to figure out what kind of words she is reacting the most to. That might be a fun exercise to also practice reading and writing skills. But you also have others. One of the things that you can that is quite useful within language learning is using some kind of paraphrasing tool like Quillbot, where you can write your sentence, and then the robot or the chatbot will automatically provide you with alternative phrasing of the same sentence. It's especially useful within practicing speaking and writing skills. One more slide for me, and this is what I'm going to talk about in my workshop on Monday at 1 o'clock, the 22nd of March, if you want to attend and learn more about clickers or response tools. On Monday, it will be response tools to use in the classroom. And a response technology or a response tool can shortly be described as a type of wireless technology aimed at promoting better communication, response, and interactivity in large classrooms. I saw from the pre-activity from the Google form that a lot of you are already using some types of response tools. Most of you are using Kahoot, some Quizlet I saw mentioned, and maybe a couple of others also. And as you all know, response technology allows for one-to-many communication and a response that the teacher can actually use later on in class. It also allows for some type of anonymity to involve and engage a larger percentage of the student group. My two examples is Padlet and iLike, which is the two tools that I am using the most when I'm doing my classes. And I especially use them for enhancing writing and listening skills. With that, I will leave it to Mikael.
Taking to the next technology in our list, which is virtual reality. Virtual reality is a relatively old technology, or you can also say relatively new, but it has received a lot more attention in the past 5 or 6 years due to it becoming more accessible on the level that is, of high enough quality. It is generally a computer-generated simulation of a three-dimensional environment that can be interacted with in a seemingly real or physical way by a person using special equipment such as helmets or headsets that you might have seen, but also other kind of devices such as gloves that have inbuilt sensors that allows for interaction and tracking. In very short terms, virtual reality is a technology that is replacing the real world with a digital reality. It tries to replace your vision completely and your hearing, so that you don't hear and don't see the physical world around you. You only see a simulated world. When you are, for example, now in a webinar, you're looking at your screen, but if you turn your head to the right or to the left, you will see your normal physical environment, your surrounding. When you are in virtual reality, you do not see that. You cannot really, you need to take off your equipment. Otherwise, you can behave normally, as natural as you would, and you still see and hear and feel that you are in that digital synthetic reality. It gives interesting affordances and advantages to different domains, and language learning included there. And generally, you can, as a best practice today, what you can do in virtual reality, you can practice speaking and listening in very realistic scenarios. If you compare that to instant messaging or to Zoom, for example, here you can see a person sitting in front of you through a web camera, but you understand that both you and the person you talk to, they are humans, and you're sitting in your room or in your office and you speak with each other. In virtual reality, what you can do is you can simulate the context for your conversation. For example, if you are practicing a guided tour, you can simulate a city. And then you will have all the objects you can talk about. These objects can be to the left or to the right from you. And you can simulate different buildings, other humans, and you can basically build the conversation in that natural or naturally built digital environment. And the teaching methods that are usually used with virtual reality are active learning and situated learning, so that the learners are fully immersed and engaged in a specific context, in a situation. They feel and they react as they are actually there in the middle of the street in a city where nobody speaks the language they normally speak. I also, for some of the technologies, have this other icon next to the best practices that shows where this technology is going, because this is still relatively new and these best practices are not really that widespread yet. And we are moving towards, in virtual reality, towards hyper-realistic simulation of learning scenarios and environments and situations where the person who is in virtual reality will not be able to distinguish what is real and what is digital. And we are also moving towards very cheap and accessible devices, because today they're still a little bit expensive. Now, with some examples for speaking and listening and some technologies and tools that I would like to mention here. Basically, all of these platforms are used both for speaking and listening mostly, because writing and reading in virtual reality is a little bit problematic. You can read and write very short text or phrases or just single words, but typing something is a bit difficult. That's why more naturally would be speaking and listening. And this is how it actually used. And the division here is in speaking and listening, but this is mostly on the left side. I mentioned virtual reality as a technology that allows human-to-human interaction using voice. So speaking and listening as well, but you're speaking to a human. And these multi-user environments, they usually combine this ability to speak naturally over distance, for example, like in Zoom, with a authentic or specifically designed environment that can be used in that learning scenario. And the examples of the systems that provide that would be Second Life, which is a platform that was very popular about 10, 11 years ago, a social virtual world where you have an avatar and you can chat with people and speak. And that was actually a very popular place for language learning activities, where people from other parts of the world could do language exchange and language learning groups for different languages. A slightly more modern alternative is Altspace VR. That is a similar environment that is based also on a meetup concept. So you don't really have this running all the time, but you announce events or sort of webinars, but they happen in a 3D virtual environments. There is another example of Whitley that actually allows you to simulate or schedule classes for multiple students and a teacher to engage in a predefined 3D environment. And in the other side, in listening, I mentioned technologies that use artificial intelligence to complement the affordances of virtual reality. So virtual reality can allow to simulate not only places or visual environments, but they can also simulate characters, for example, and they can be programmed with quite a complex logic, similar to games, for example. And you would have a good example is you would have characters that can talk to you, and that also combines multiple other technologies such as dialect understanding and an intelligent tutoring system and games, and that with virtual reality puts that all in a very real, the situation that the user feels that is really engaging and feels real. We have a webinar on Friday at 11 on immersive technologies for language learning, and we will go much deeper into virtual reality, and we will try our own system that we've developed for language learning. The next technology I will introduce is voice recording and speech recognition. These are two different technologies. Basically, voice recording is very basic and it's more than 100 years old. But today is very easy to use with the digital devices. Every smartphone, every computer can record your voice. But speech recognition is a slightly more advanced, or you could say much more advanced technology that actually allows the computer to not only record the sound, but also translate your spoken speech into a text and give you that text on the output. The best practice of using this is to practice pronunciation individually and get automated feedback. So if the speech recognition algorithm can recognize your speech and correctly confirms that into the written text that you can verify yourself, then your pronunciation is correct. And if you are making some pronunciation mistakes, it's most likely that the speech recognition algorithm will not be able to recognize, or will recognize some other words. And again, I have an icon where this technology is going, and it's going to practicing both speaking and listening by talking to an intelligent digital tutor, and feeling absolutely that the conversation is real. So then here is speech recognition combined with artificial intelligence. So we can see here with the last two technologies, virtual reality and voice recording speech recognition, they are used a lot in combination with each other. So for the language learning skills and examples of tools, I have lots of examples for practicing speaking, and looking at your responses in the pre-activity, we can also see that you are using lots of other tools, which is great. So I can mention that speech recognition, a very simple speech recognition, is used very often by large language learning platforms, applications such as Babel and Busuu. They have many other functions, and the speech recognition function is basically a nice feature that they have. And Mondly is a virtual reality system that has a speech recognition component inbuilt there. But I can also draw your attention to these two tools below, Sounds and Audio Note. They are specifically designed around speech recognition. Then they have really advanced speech recognition and speech practice functions, especially visualizations in Sounds. Just go to their website and see a few of their examples. They are really interesting. And in terms of listening, then you would start thinking that speech recognition needs to be combined with artificial intelligence, so that not only the computer can not only recognize your speech, but it can also synthesize speech and give back the responses. But that part is technologically possible, but I could not really find commercial tools or popular platforms that have this this feature for listening. And yeah, I only could find several research articles that are just one example here, that are developing prototypes and designing some early systems.
Hi everybody, my name is Antonio Giordano from Pixel, Florence. Okay, the approach is almost the same, as I'm going to present the next 5 technologies, and the approach I'm going to use is more or less the same, as there will be a brief description of the technology itself, some suggestions about how to use them in order to develop skills in speaking, writing, listening, and reading, and some suggestions about examples of technologies. Obviously, we couldn't mention them all, so we just mentioned those we are more familiar with or which are more popular. But anyway, your suggestions on those technologies and those examples of technologies are welcome. So I will start with website and digital resources. We could spend the next 3 hours in defining what is meant by website and digital resources, but we don't have too much time, so I just try to summarize up what can be meant within this kind of huge definition. So databases, books, journals, newspapers, magazines, archives, theses, conference papers, government papers, research, reports, scripts, and monographs in a digital form. As you know, and as you can imagine, old-fashioned classes leave so many learners frustrated, as they have to memorize an endless litany of verb conjunctions. And today, thanks to website and digital resources, we have the opportunity to give new life to language learning and make it the adventure it should be. So there are many advantages to digital language learning over classroom instruction, including access to content at any time, in any location, and current technologies make content interactive, as opposed to stuffy foreign language textbooks. Anyway, an important aspect to be underlined is that a greater responsibility is now attributed to learners. So if we want to make reference to the 4 skills we have been speaking about website and digital resources in speaking, so some tips that we can give to other teachers. It can be, we can use those kind of technology in order to give academic presentation on web conferences and web conference software, and recording presentation and self-evaluating. And those, we have some example of technology and example of website and digital resources to be used in language teaching and learning, like Italki, Polyglot Club, and iNative. In terms of writing, it is possible to use blogs to facilitate socio-cultural learning, or to use breakout rooms to facilitate peer reviewing. And here again, some example of website and digital resources like Ichifit, Talk for Into Me, I won't explain them in detail because maybe you already know them and they are too many. I will focus on some other examples later. Listening to online lectures for specific disciplines on YouTube. That is quite common as technology, or using TED Talks as academic comprehension text. So again, we have TED, Easy Languages, or FluentU as example of websites and digital resources. And critically read academic texts and articles, or compare the language of academic journal articles and blogs. Other examples there we have ELT Journal or the Journal of Language Evolution. So those are just examples of website and digital resources which can be used in language teaching and learning. Then the next technology is represented by digital libraries. A digital library is an online database of digital objects that can include text, images, audio, video, digital documents, or other digital media formats. Object can consist of digitized contents like print or photograph, as well as original produced digital content like word processor files or social media posts. Today, it could sound a bit anachronistic speaking or using libraries to learn foreign language, but it is not, because in particular, if the word library is used in conjunction with the adjective digital libraries offer a huge array of language learning resources, including free subscriptions to online resources and free apps. In addition, the connection to physical libraries is not completely lost, as subscriptions to online language learning resources, which are free with a library card, but which would cost a lot of money if you register on your own, are one of the most valuable library resources available today. So in terms of speaking, how we can use digital libraries, for example, to build collections that introduce the people, history, environments, art, literature, music, or to bring teachers and learners together. Forum, discussion boards, electronic journals, and chat programs can be incorporated to create a community. An example is represented by Rosetta Stone, which was the first popular intensive language learning software of its time. A handful of libraries offer this program, which analyzes users' voices and improves pronunciation. In terms of listening, a good example, a good suggestion of using digital libraries would be providing linguistic resources. Audios and videos provided by the digital libraries are commonly used as material for teaching and improving listening skills. An example, Living Language, which is another audio CD company covering more than 20 languages, including Dothraki, the fictional language made famous by Game of Thrones. And reading, building collections of language resources, interpreting the target language and master skills in communication and behavior, experiencing the culture without leaving the classroom. An example here is Transparent Language Online, which has the same software used by the US military in linguistic training. So I would say that results are kind of impressive. The next technologies is represented by ebook. Learning a language by reading books is not always the easiest or most convenient method. This is where ebooks come in. They have all the target language content and are packed into one handy device. This means that you always have an opportunity to read and learn even when you are away from your bookshelf. And ebook offer a full array of genres, from textbooks to novels. Even more, if you can't find a book in hard copy, you will easily find it in ebook form. Foreign language ebooks are more convenient than conventional books. And to go back to the kind of definition or an attempt to give a definition, a book is a digital file containing a body of text and images suitable for distributing electronically and displaying on screen in a manner similar to a printed book. So ebooks can be created by converting a printed source files to format optimized for easy downloading and on-screen reading, or they can be drawn from a database or a set of text files that were not created for print. The updated version, because there is the ebook, but there is also the audiobook, which is the recording of a book or other work being read out loud. So again, some suggestions in terms of how they can be used. For example, for listening, providing exposure to native speakers with several accents, or matching students' language skills, or stretching language skills development. Here, the main example is represented by Audible, with a lot of different ebooks which can be used in order to teach and learn foreign languages. And then reading, fitting reading practice anytime, anywhere. This is the first suggestion on how to use the ebooks. Easy access to language tools on personal devices, looking up unfamiliar words, and switching to translator apps without losing the train of the story. And here the example is represented by digital book. Then the whiteboard is another technology. An interactive whiteboard is a large interactive display board in the form factor of a whiteboard. It can either be a standalone touchscreen computer used independently to perform tasks and operation, or an apparatus used as a touchpad to control computers from a projector. They can be used, they are already used. I would say that it is quite common to find them in classes. They are used in a variety of settings, including classrooms at all levels of education, including boardrooms and work groups, in training rooms for professional sports coaching, in broadcasting studios and others. Here, the focus is on what can be done in classroom. No advertising here. I won't receive any gadget from Samsung or Dell and so on. Just an example of some of the brands producing right now whiteboards, which are quite common, and how they can be used. Speaking, supporting the development of speaking skills when used in combination with a wireless keyboard. So teachers can sit with the students, reading a text or having a conversation. When new vocabulary is needed or appears, teachers can enter the new words into the keyboards and it will then appear on the boards. In terms of writing, overwriting any project objects, this allows students to focus and to know what the teacher wants them to select. Because teachers can emphasize any particular structure by highlighting, underlining, or circling with different colors, it is easier for the students to develop writing skills. And then finally, the online courses and the massive open online courses. So this acronym MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Courses. They are a form of distance learning delivered online. Unlike conventional courses, they can often have an unlimited number of students, which is an advantage of using this kind of methodology. They often provide plenty of course material like text, activities, and videos. Some even offer forum to allow teachers to interact with their students. So when you are learning a language as an adult, sometimes you need a structured approach. If you want the benefit of more conventional coursework, but want to be able to do it anywhere, online courses and private language lessons can give you what you need. Additionally, free language learning websites and free learning language courses offer powerful money-saving potential. But when you are looking for an incomparable combination of value and conventional coursework, nothing has your back quite like a massive online open course. So some example and some suggestion. Speaking, short speaking and pronunciation tasks evaluated through self, peer, and experts assessments. Writing takes many forms in the massive online open courses. Courses rely primarily on peer response for feedback on students' writing. Listening, availability of a wide range of materials in terms of subject matter, accent of the speaker, and length. And reading, availability of and easy access to, thanks to personal devices, to a wide range of materials. Some example here which can be interchangeable and which can be used for the four skills to be developed while teaching foreign languages. So we have edX, which was founded in 2012 by Harvard University and MIT, and nowadays many top universities contribute with courses. Language courses include English, Spanish, French, Chinese, Japanese, and Italian. An important strength is that the edX language MOOCs come from universities from around the world. So you can study Japanese with a course from Waseda University in Tokyo, or if you are looking for a course in Spanish, then you will find a course offered by Universitat Politécnica de Valencia. Coursera was founded by 2 Stanford professors. Currently, it hosts courses from a number of major universities, including Stanford, Duke, and Johns Hopkins. Coursera courses feature video lectures, assignment, and forum. In addition, with Coursera, it is possible to take individual courses. Then we have FutureLearn, which is owned by the Open University, a British-based university with an important experience in distance education. And FutureLearn partners with dozens of university and cultural institutions around the world to provide courses which cover some popular languages like Spanish, English, Italian, Korean, along with some less common options like Dutch and Frisian. Finally, Udemy has a slightly different approach than other providers, because instead of being created by university, those courses are created by individuals in topics they are passionate about. So while this means that some of the instructors are not always established experts, it also means that there is a much wider selection of courses available and a wider opportunity to acquire language skills you wouldn't acquire in many other language courses. So I will stop with this part of the presentation, and I guess I will leave the floor once again to Mikael. Thanks.
Let's continue with a few more. We now look at the wearable technology. The wearable technology, or in short, wearables, refer to smart electronic devices that wear closed or on the surface of the skin. The most popular one is a smartwatch, but there are other kinds of devices that have some electronics built in and that they are worn on different parts of human body. What they can do is they can detect, analyze, and transmit information about the body, like, for example, your heart rate. And they can also detect other ambient data, such as temperature, such as the sound of your speech or the sound of the environment. And they can also use that information they collect, the data they collect, in the software these devices run. And then with the software design, you can use them in different applications, including language learning. However, this technology became already quite popular in the areas like in health or in fitness or in fashion. It's not really popular yet in language learning. The only applications I could find that are more or less available, and we can call them best practices of today, that would be practicing vocabulary on smartwatches. They usually have a small screen and they function in very similar ways as a regular smartphone, but instead of having a phone, you have your watch. And in most cases, the only methods you would use wearable technology today would be to supplement the normal language learning process with some short practices that the students can do outside of the classroom when they are in a bus, when they are waiting for something, when they are at home, and when they just have a couple of minutes of a break between something. Where this technology is going? This technology is going towards more wide application, towards more powerful and much smaller devices, and that could be in the form of glasses and electronics built in regular glasses that can be of any other bracelets or necklaces or even rings that would give you the power to collect the data, interact with the software. Like imagine in a few years, the intelligent tutoring system that you now have on the web page in the browser that you need a computer or a phone to interact with, that could live in a smartwatch, and that could also live in your ring. And whenever you tap on your ring, then you have your personal assistant who is ready to practice some language with you. Not yet a best practice. I have a few examples here, and most of these examples are platforms that are designed, like bigger general platforms that are designed for language learning, for different kinds of language learning, and they simply developed smartwatch applications in addition to their, for example, mobile phone applications. And usually in terms of listening and reading, how you use it is very similar to using a smartphone. However, the possibilities are much greater. I will now also cover another technology, augmented reality. Augmented reality refers to enhancing human perception with additional computer-generated sensorial input to create a new user experience, including enhancing human vision by combining the natural and the digital offers. In more simple words, augmented reality is combining a digital layer and the real world. So if you take the visual augmented reality, you still see the physical world around you unobstructed, but you have a digital layer between the physical reality and your eyes, for example, or your ears, that would provide you additional and useful information. And augmented reality is also very often relies on a lot of sensors, so that the technology does not simply display something in front of your eyes, but it understands the physical environment around you, and it embeds the holograms or the digital layer into the physical environment correctly, so that you have an illusion that the holograms are actually placed and located in the physical world. So the technology is also relatively recently became affordable. And if you want to learn more about this, we will also cover this in our workshop on immersive technologies for language learning. The best practice at the moment is to practice the language with digital annotations of textbooks. If you look at your textbooks through a phone, then you would have all the holograms and annotation appear over it. It is also a real-time translation that translates not a text in your computer, but a text written on a real object in a physical world. So the potential for any kind of learning, including language learning, is that it could happen outside of the classroom and really outside of any technological restrictions. So you can learn not only in the physical world, but from the physical world, from the object and situations there. However, this is really just a supplementary method at the moment, and providing, it provides the way to supply learning materials to the students in a different way, that is where the learning materials appear in the real world. The technology is going towards a direction towards a world where the holograms will become a natural part of the physical world, and they will be almost or absolutely impossible to distinguish between a holographic object or a physical object if you are simply walking on the street. In terms of speaking, listening, and reading, there is lots of possibilities for augmented reality, and very often it is combined with some other technologies to enable language learning in terms of speaking, listening, and reading. So for example, if you combine augmented reality and artificial intelligence, which I also mentioned when I was talking about the virtual reality, you can create virtual characters, but these virtual characters will not live inside a computer or inside a computer game or inside of the helmet that you need to put on. They will live in your living room. They will live in the physical world, and they will be able to interact with you in your own room, and they will be able to interact with other objects in that room, and then you'll be able to sort of interact more naturally with them. And this mostly gives a different kind of setting for the learning activities. It doesn't really change the same speech recognition, dialogue understanding, and the other features and functions that you would use that are enabled by artificial intelligence, but visualized in a different way. If you look at listening, augmented reality as a tech, it doesn't only augment your vision, it can also augment your hearing. So you could combine it with voice interaction interfaces that you might know, for example, from personal assistants such as, okay, Google, tell me something, or Siri or Alexa, that can actually understand what you ask them, and they can actually do something. So with augmented reality, you can actually visualize them, and they can appear as humans or objects or whatever you would want them to appear. And then that would make the conversation a bit more real, that you're not talking to abstract voice coming from a device, but you're talking to a human being, even though the human being is generated by a computer. And in reading, and that's a bit closer to the best practice that is available today, is that augmented reality can provide translation of text that are on the real objects, and you see how the Google Translator can help you with that. And if you didn't know about that function, you can try it right away now. It's in your phone, very likely. And it can also be combined with computer vision technologies such as object recognition, and you can see that an example on the picture on the right. And this technology can recognize objects and can name them when you simply point your camera of your phone or of your other device at them. It can recognize a cup, a laptop, a bowl, and it's a bit too many bottles on this picture, but the point is that you can train algorithms to find specific objects in the real life situations, and then you can make a software that can not only sort of display what this object is, but they can also display that in a language you want. And if you want to design some practice, you can sort of toggle this feature on and off. You can guess what that object is called in a language you're learning, and then you can immediately check what the object recognition algorithm would tell you about that object.
So the robots can also be used for language teaching. It is not as widespread as some other technologies for now, but it has wide potential. Robots are a mechanism in terms of language learning. They are a mechanism that resemble a living creature, and as such, as a familiar and interestingly looking thing, they are especially effective with young learners who are afraid to speak in English or in any other foreign language in front of their peers. Moreover, robots equipped with front cameras may be used as physical avatars by the students with disabilities who are unable to visit schools and to practice the language they learn with their peers face to face. Basically, all skills could be improved with using this technology. In terms of speaking and listening, many of them have speech recognition software, and so they understand the dialogue, they can reply. So speaking and listening practice can be very easily used with them. However, of course, for now, they are quite costly and not very affordable. Moreover, at the moment, there are several, let's say, companies that produce robots for language teaching and learning. Here are some logos, Alias and Emus, if I pronounce it correctly. So they are both human-like robots. They are, to some extent, artificial intelligent, so they can somehow communicate with the learners, but for now maybe on the level of beginners. So it is very appropriate for young learners, not that much for the adults so far, but maybe we will get there in several decades or even years. So I guess that's it about robots.
And this is now back to Tord.
Okay, I just want to start off with because we got a comment in the chat wondering about if we're having if you have any recommendations within a couple of different other areas than what we have included here. First of all, I want to say that originally we included also cultural skills as one of the 5 basic skills in language learning, but we decided that we weren't sure about how much time we would have, which seems that maybe we did correctly not including it. You're also asking about the new recommendations from the Common European Framework or references, and also specific items within ESP and EAP. I'm confident that a lot of the functionalities and the specific needs within the areas that you're asking about is included in some of the tools that we have presented here. I also know that in several of the other upcoming 9 workshops, there will be commented on special needs and common European frameworks. If you continue following DC4LT, the project, you will see that we are launching our own assessment framework where you can assess your skills, which is based on the DigiComp released from the European Union, as well as the framing and the reasoning and the thoughts behind the Common European Framework or references. So we are aware of it, and we would like to talk more about even that, and I'm pretty sure that many of us will do during the next 1.5 weeks. But in this presentation, we focused a lot on the tools and the artifacts that are possible to use, just to give some ideas. I don't know if that is a good enough answer. We had some discussions, like you saw on the last, or we had some questions that we thought could initiate some kind of discussion at the last slide. But I think I'd rather show you the results of from the Padlets and just comment on a couple of things. And a lot of interesting stuff. I've been looking at it during the presentation, and it seems like a lot of you are. You can see it here, and you can also find it when you go to the Padlet. We will since it's anonymous, we will also publish this one in the classroom so that you can have a look at it. A lot of good ideas. One of the things that is obvious is that you want to use educational technology for language learning because it engages and motivates the students in a better way, which is something that we also totally agree on. I was wondering if anybody would like to say, because this is something that we hear a lot and has been hearing a lot the latter years, that educational technology provides the opportunity to provide better real-world experiences or real-world cases, real-world tasks. Does anyone want to try and elaborate a bit on that? Why do educational technology provide better opportunities for providing real-life or real-world exercises?
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, please do, Mike.
Yesterday we had the example of the Erasmus experience.
Yeah.
And this is entirely a real world use of the technology. And in fact, that Erasmus experience, my apologies, I've forgotten the name of the person who presented it. But this could be extended to a virtual reality. This could be extended in many ways with the technology, but it's already a real world experience. That students go to real sites to achieve a real task, and you couldn't do that in the classroom.
Oh, exactly. No, good example, and I do agree. I like people kind of phrasing it, because it's so easy just to throw it out there and say that, hey, this gives us the opportunity for real life experiences. And then I'm thinking, haven't we always tried to do that in the classroom? But this provides a more, in my opinion, a more immediate access. Instead of you have to, for example, copying paper or copying a newspaper article and bring to the classroom, you can just ask them to Google it or go online and read the same paper there. So I agree. I know that time is running out. Because I have a lot of stuff that I would like to discuss with you guys, but there was one thing. Somebody said something about better feedback. Yeah. Somebody posted enriched input beyond the classroom environment, including a variety of voices, real-world tasks, ease of storage and retrieval, better feedback and engagement. Do we, as language teachers, language lecturers, do we believe that robots, automated feedback, intelligent tutoring systems will be able to provide better feedback than a physical teacher, if we can call ourselves that?
That's it. That was me again.
Okay, yeah, but that's fine.
What I was thinking of was better opportunities for teacher feedback rather than automated feedback. Automated feedback, I guess there are times when it could be considerably quicker. I'm not convinced that at the moment it would be as accurate or as rich.
Yep, I agree, and I also saw that somewhere, that the lessons are more effective and we save some time. I saw on some comments, and I think this is a vital point for teachers, that we need to save some time in order to do our core teaching even better. So I agree that as long as it makes it more effective and it's still qualitatively well enough, then it should be explored and used even more. And the big data are getting bigger and bigger, meaning that we get better and better intelligent tutoring systems and automated feedback. So we should explore it more.
I see to it that some comments in the chat now complementing what you're saying.
Yeah.
There is a comment, I think we should find a balance between physical and virtual techniques. And I think it combines nicely with the argument that the more simple tasks that need to be repeated many times by the student, but you don't need a lot of, very advanced or, advanced technology to assist with that and give immediate feedback on every little step, like trying to practice pronunciation with speech recognition, for example. And then the teacher could use the same time to practice more interesting, more difficult tasks with the students.
Yeah, I agree. And you don't need all the time. The students don't need that very intricate and very deep feedback either. If you, for example, look at the Pearson's automated feedback system, they only have 5 parameters that they give feedback on, making it easier to collect the data and making it useful for the students to receive the feedback. And I also saw that it mostly depends on teachers' mindset and experience, and that is also something that is important to remember. And that is also one of the reasons why we're doing this project, isn't it, Mikael, the DC4LT, that we want to give the teachers even more, or we want to give them a community where they can practice their digital skills so that they can actually use the tools in a more methodological and good, efficient way. New message. Let's see, you're right. Okay, thank you. Autonomous learning tools as opposed to teaching tools. Yes, true. We again, Mikael, we could probably sit there for another hour. We haven't even started on the discussion points. but I guess we will have to let them go. I just wanna say thank you for the participation. We will post more materials after the workshop, and thank you for joining us for 1.5 hours with a lot of text and a lot of talking from us, and hopefully you'll join one or more of the upcoming workshops.
Yes, thank you for enduring through the overview workshops. We tried to pack maybe a bit too much information in these short sessions, so the other workshops are different. We have plenty of time and much less of lecturing there. So thank you for joining today. Let's continue the conversation on the Google Classroom.